Hello everybody, welcome back to our MPTV Coaches Show. Ryan Lindley, and joining me today, Brian Deters, former Morton High School soccer coach. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate that, Ryan. Really happy to get involved this year. You asked me with the absence of last year's crew that I could come in, and so I'm excited.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit. I mean, I know we'll talk more specifically about our own coaching experience, how we handle it, but I mean, I think most people know, but you were a soccer coach here for a long time. Talk to me just a little bit about the coaching side of your years at Morton High School.
Yeah, the longer that I'm here, since I haven't coached, fewer people even know that, you coach soccer. But so I was a soccer coach here from 1995, a long time ago, to 2012. And so that was 17 seasons of both the boys and the girls. And, we had a lot of great success, had a lot of great teams. And when you reflect back on those years, the thing that, and I think this is true for all coaches who get away from it, it's not about the wins, although those are great, in the championships and stuff with conference and regionals and even sectionals occasionally, and those are great, but it's about the team, it's about the kids, it's about the relationships, it's about the moving forward. So that's what I miss the most. I'm most proud of when I think about it.
Awesome. So, obviously one of the most exciting times I know is that lead up to game one. And so we put together a little package. This is a little information for all you folks at home. When do our various programs get to play at home for the first time? So let's take a look at that. Lady Potters Volleyball got their season started on Monday against Peoria Notre Dame. Their next home game is September 2nd versus Tremont. Pekin is going to be the opponent for the first home match for our girls tennis team. That is on September 3rd. Boys soccer kicks off on August 29th at home versus U-High. Girls golf has already been outstanding, third at the Redbird Classic over the weekend. They don't have a home match until September 18th. Boys golf has their first home match on September 10th. That's versus East Peoria and Metamora. Football, the home opener on September 6th versus Rochelle. We already talked about season opener on August 30th at Mahomet Seymour. And if you want to see the band, we talked to them last week. You can see them for the first time at halftime on that 9-6 game versus Rochelle. All right, welcome back here, folks. Ryan Lindley, Brian Deters. We just saw that package. Everybody's, first home game, or some cases the first game, because they play at home in the first game. But you just mentioned 17 years, obviously, of coaching. I mean, what went into kind of prepping for that first game? It's a little different when you're having that lead up to game one.
Yeah, everybody's got the jitters. Everybody's excited because you've been working so hard through the summer, of course, with regards to the fall sports. And you're just kind of ready to compete. You're ready to see different uniforms and go against people you don't know as opposed to your teammates. And so as a coach, you have to balance that excitement that you want the kids to have and make sure that they're grounded enough to recognize that this is a long season, that this is one of just many, and although we're excited to get going, we have to make sure our head's in the right place. So I just have really great memories of kind of those opening days from being a player to a coach and just the excitement of just getting going.
And talk a little bit about just that idea also. Sometimes it's a big difference if you open against kind of a rival, right? Speaking of the soccer side of it, we saw there that soccer's going to open against U-High, who is, obviously a perennial power. Absolutely. I mean, is there a difference from your coaching perspective? I'm opening against a U-High versus somebody that maybe we know really is a 500 team or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the difference is it's okay, we're taking the test. Sometimes when you're playing an opponent that you're more confident that you're going to take on, you have to, as a coach, make sure your players are measured to be this is our first game, they're going to be ready to go, you've got to give it all, give it the A-game effort. But in the case of a rival, of a team that matches you with your skill ability and your intensity in the program prowess, etc., it's okay, this is real, we're really going at it. And so that's exciting, and it also can be a little nerve-wracking if your team isn't tested, if you have a younger group or things like that.
And how about just from like a psychological standpoint? I mean, just kind of big picture here. I mean, we saw golf in there too, and I know you're an avid golfer. Just kind of battling maybe some of the psychological standpoint if like it doesn't open well, right? You're that golfer that has a double bogey on the first hole, or you give up you give up a goal in the first 2 minutes. Like, how do you respond to that adversity?
I think it's important as a coach to just be as stoic as possible, one way or the other. Whether you're scoring a goal in the first 2 minutes in soccer or you're giving up a goal. I remember as a player years ago, I think there was still cars had just been invented, and we were playing Springfield High at the school I went to, Quincy Notre Dame, and a ball was passed back to our goalkeeper, who literally missed it, and it went into the goal 35 seconds into our season. And we all looked to our coach, a legendary guy named Frank Longo, and he just kind of had that look like, it's okay. And so I think that's the attitude that a coach has to have in that environment. Like, you're going to be jittery, you're going to make mistakes, stay with it, it's okay. Calmness is important.
Yeah, I think about former Potters football coach Tim Brilli. A couple years ago, we fumbled the opening kickoff of the season, and I mean, the first word I heard in the headset was, or the first phrase I guess was, "It's the first play." There's a lot of season left,
right? But even though that's not what you want to say sometimes.
No. And as the special teams coordinator, I'm going like, is there a hole I can hide in here? Like, this is my group that just made the first mistake of the season. The season is about 11 seconds old.
11 seconds.
But I mean, I think you're right. I think it's that idea of how do you stay calm, how do you reflect that for your team, and that's very important.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And so let's talk football specifically, because it seems like that obviously is the sport everybody gets really excited about. Before we talk football though, let's go to an expert. I had a chance to go out to the practice field the other day and chat with our head football coach, our current head football coach. We just mentioned his predecessor, but our current head coach Adam O'Neill and I sat down, or I guess stood up because we were standing.
Yeah.
Everybody uses sat down. So let's watch that interview. Ryan Lindley here with head football coach Adam O'Neill. And coach, start with this, just year 2 as the head coach. What's different? What's the same? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. I think all the football stuff is mostly the same. I think the things that are different, at least on my end as a head coach, is all the administrative things that I was fortunate and Scott and his staff took care of me when I was still in Kansas and moving. There was more, I think, in the spring and the summer than I had to deal with, and so getting used to that. But that stuff was all fun. The different, better part is just spent a whole year with the kids and getting to know them and their families and the community, and that part's been the most fun and the most fulfilling.
Awesome. And then obviously we'll talk a little with specifics with the team, right? Football starts up front, O-line, D-line. Talk about those groups. Last year, obviously, we had pretty solid up front. A couple guys graduate. What's it looking like this year?
Yeah, I think a strong point of the team is going to be the D-line for sure. Ian Collins returns, and I expect he's going to be an all-conference, all area caliber kid. Rylan Tanner played a lot last year towards the end of the year, so he's got a lot of experience, and he comes back. We're going to play Dennis Dracup, who was our all-conference O-lineman at nose, along with J.J. Barnes, who's come a long way, and they're very explosive. They give us a little bit different element than we had at nose. And then Miles Schaefer's come around too, so we feel like we've got 6 kids that are really, really talented. They're really good. They could start on a lot of different teams. And then O-line, it's a little bit of work in progress, but I think the upside is really, really high. Really excited about Dennis is back, and he's the only returner, but Joe Hearn's done a phenomenal job in the weight room. Is going to start at center, and Oliver Donnelly as well is going to start at right tackle. He's senior. They're senior. They've gotten a lot of reps at JV. And then Soren Pfeiffer, just a sophomore, is a really talented kid. And Aiden Lamar, and they give us a different element. We haven't had that much size. We didn't have that size last year. They're both 6'5", 270 pounds, and moving well. So when we look good, we look really good. Sometimes we do look a little young and inexperienced, but as the year goes on, I'm really excited about that group as well. Awesome. And you mentioned Dennis. Let's talk another all-conference returner, Shondon Buffington, in the backfield. I mean, and obviously you can throw Dennis in there too, but what does it mean to have those two guys back as kind of leaders on this team? Well, Dennis can play. Dennis could play play 4 out of the 5 spots, and so we can move him around a little bit. And his experience allows him to talk to the other kids and be a leader, and just kind of settle them down sometimes and remind them scheme and talk to them that way. And then we've talked to Shondon a bit about, like, hey, sometimes there's going to be a bust here with a little bit with the young guys, and you're going to have to be the dude. Like, you're going to have to make some plays here and there on your own, but as it gets rolling, it's pretty excited. It's bigger front. Shondon's bigger. We want to be able to move the ball on the ground and establish the run, and I think we'll be able to do that.
And then last one, just kind of looking ahead, Mahomet week 1. It's a team that we've almost developed a rivalry with from the playoffs in 2021 to playing them to open the season the last couple of years. What do you look at with that game? Keys to victory, things that are kind of on your mind as you prepare here, just about 8 days out.
Yeah, they're really experienced on offense. 9 returning starters, as far as I can tell, on offense. As far as I can tell, maybe just 2 on defense. So you're gonna have to look to take advantage of that. With our Sean coming back and Dennis coming back, and I think some skill, and Julian Alexander coming back. I think we've got some skill that we've got to use to take advantage a little bit of where maybe they're inexperienced. And then we've got to handle all their. They do a really good job schematically and formationally, getting the ball spread out, and they make you line up, and they make your kids think, and so we got to be ready to line up against all those things, handle the screens, handle the shots, and then continue to be good against the run.
Awesome, Coach. Well, we appreciate it, and good luck this season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, welcome back here. So you just saw Coach O'Neill. Obviously, he's excited. I think I said it was 8 days away when I did the interview, but now as you're watching this, we're literally about a day away. And so, football, obviously, yes, you were a soccer coach. That's European football.
It's true.
But obviously, I know you're a big Bears fan. Coach talked about up front, but just kind of be the analyst here for a second. Like, what are the keys to success in the football field?
Well, I don't pretend to be the expert at the high school level. I'm going to refer to you as somebody who's been in the trenches.
Like I said, retired football coach.
On that. But I just think in general, it goes back to what we were talking about before in all sports, is that just kind of making sure your team is locked in. It's early, you're going to make mistakes, but what have we done thus far to get us to this point? And I'm sure that's what Coach O'Neill's going to be focusing on as they play Mahomet here coming out of the gate. But I'll let you kind of run with that a little bit, Ryan.
Yeah, I definitely, and this is definitely I appreciate the experience that I got to coach football, and I'm enjoying kind of the outside looking in aspect. It was kind of cool to go to practice. But the biggest thing for me, and kind of similar to what you're talking about, was always, what do we do well, and knowing what we do well, right? So we're going to come out of the gate, and going back to my experience, right? I've got 10 to 12 plays in a script that I want to run. Maybe not necessarily the first 10 plays or the first 12 plays, but probably in the first 20 plays, I want to run those 10 or 12 that I'm really confident in, because I feel like that's going to put us in the best position to be successful and build that confidence, right? Because I know if it's, whatever it might be, if it's counter left, that we run counter really, really well. So I want to call, maybe my note says, call that 5 times in the first 25 plays or something like that. So it's being prepared to put your team in a position to be most successful. And it was know your plays. What do you do well? Whose personnel maybe? Somebody that you really want to make sure touches the ball early. There's those kids who can kind of drift away if they don't get an early touch, so it's kind of getting them the ball early. And then obviously just being fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
I think if you turn, like we talked about it, but if you turn it over early, it can be deflating. So what have we done in practice to be fundamentally sound?
Yeah. And I was going to ask you too, like, what your thoughts are with the whole notion of you're going into a season, coaches in all sports, certainly football is there, they're looking for a team identity.
Oh, yeah.
In your opinion, and particularly maybe with the Coach O'Neill team, is it about reinforcing this identity that we decided we're going to establish, or is the first game, maybe the first couple games, still part of the learning process to really solidify and establish that identity in?
It's a little bit of both. I think one thing Coach O'Neill did last year, and he came in with the mindset of the the Potters are going to be the best defensive team in the area, right? And he came in as a defensive coordinator background, won 2 state championships as a defensive coordinator, one locally at Peoria High, one in Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. And, and so like he emphasized that we're going to play defense in a way that other teams don't play defense. We're going to be fast, we're going to be physical, we're going to be aggressive. So I think establishing or continue to establish that identity is definitely there. But the other half of what you said, I do think each side of the ball often has its own identity.
Right.
And the difference is, for this year's Potters team, right, you're taking Jude Hart, who graduated, as your starting quarterback, and replacing him, and it sounds like it might be Isaac Davis. We'll see. I mean, they had a little bit of a quarterback competition, and Coach didn't really give us an answer to that question of who's going to be the starting quarterback. Find out 7:30 at Mahomet on Friday night.
Be there.
But whoever it is, whether it's Isaac or Nolan McIntyre, who's the other guy that's kind of competing for that spot, right, they're going to be different than Jude. So for Coach Zoss and the offensive staff, I think it's establishing that offensive identity is not necessarily going to be the same as it was last year. So maybe it's the overall team identity of we're really good on D, but the offensive side of the ball needs to establish what are we this season. And one thing that's going to help them is they do have an all-times running back, and Sean Buffett coming back.
Yeah, and it's great to have those guys coming back with the experience and the talent and the notoriety.
I mean, obviously that's Friday night at Mahomet, but then the Potters come back, and we'll talk more next week, but the Potters come back in a week, or at least about 10 days from when we're recording this, to host Rochelle for their first home game. That's also the first opportunity to see the marching band in the community, just kind of talk a little bit about, going back, maybe thinking back to your, childhood and playing, and it was soccer, not football, but it doesn't really matter what sport it was. Just that idea of that first home game and the excitement when there's a crowd there for the first time.
I mean, it's a big deal, right? Particularly for these young athletes that have grown up in this community. Most of them, they were the little kids idolizing these guys. You bring in the band, you bring in the dance, you bring in the cheerleaders, you bring in the other elements of the school, and it's just pageantry, and it just makes it a little bit special. It makes it different from your summer engagements and all the different summer hits and practices for these football guys, for all the sports. And it's magical, and that's what high school sports is all about. And for all of us who've coached it and continue to advocate for it in this world where there's so many different things like AAU and club and all those things are fine and serve their purpose, but there's nothing like high school athletics. And I think particularly in America, you think about Friday Night Lights as a very special thing, and that's coming from a soccer guy. So.
There you go. Well, again, if you want to see Friday Night Lights immediately for the Potters, head down to Mahomet. It's a 7:30 start on Friday night, Mahomet Seymour High School. Again, we'll be back next week with highlights of the Mahomet game, and we'll preview Rochelle coming in next Friday. But I think Brian's words there are a great way to end it. So for Brian Deters, I'm Ryan Lindley. See you next week.